Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about a 1978 film called Girlfriends. It's by 1055 on Criterion Collection, a recent edition, but it's also playing on the Criterion Channel as a Criterion edition. So that means that they include all the extras. I believe it's all the extras. Um, it's a very low budget independent film. Directed by Claudia Weill. She had been a documentary filmmaker. She had made a number of short films for Sesame Street. She wanted to make a feature fictional film. She got a couple of grants, and she completed a short film, which was the opening part of what Girlfriends turned out to be. She then decided that she wanted to expand that into a feature film. So she had to raise more money, and the production was a little bit stop and go depending on when the money ran out before it was eventually completed. It did make quite a stir in 1978. There were very few films directed by women directors. There were some other independent female films makers, but Hollywood itself, Dorothy Arzner to Ida Lupino, Elaine May. So this film made a splash because it was about women, women in their 20s, friendship, and it was directed by a woman. So Hollywood took notice. We were in sort of what I think they call it, the second wave of feminism. Hollywood took notice, and there was a screenplay that she directed for a Hollywood studio called It's My Turn with Joe Clayburgh and Michael Douglas. It was a terrible experience for her. She was treated in a very demeaning, sexist manner by the studio. But she did go on to direct quite a few other films, it's a television series at least. And the storyline of Girlfriends is two women in their 20s living in New York City. Melanie Mayron plays a struggling photographer. Nita Skinner plays her best friend, who is a would-be poet. They have a very strong bond. They depend on each other very much. And the storyline, I thought the narrative got a bit disjointed at times. It didn't have a lot of structure to it. It rambles through a long time period, almost 2 years. It's basically slices of life. Many of the individual segments, however, slices are very entertaining, very funny, very well acted. It has an incredible support for a low-budget independent film. It has an incredible supporting cast worthy of a Hollywood film, including Eli Wallach, Bob Balaban, Christopher Guest, Kenneth McMillan, Vivica Lindfors, Amy Wright, some established stars, some on their way up. And they're all very good and very indelible roles. And the tension of the film is within how the friendship can survive as the Nita Skinner character gets married, has a baby, moves away. Melanie Mayron feels somewhat abandoned. The friendship is not the same as it was before. Can you maintain a friendship like that? Friendship itself is really kind of a mysterious aspect of life. Maybe even more mysterious than romantic attraction, I think. And this film really, when it focuses in on the friendship, it's really good. Melanie Mayron would go on to act in 30-something. She would also become a director. Nita Skinner is unusual. She's very good in the film. She only made one other film called, according to IMDb, Soul Survivor, a science fiction movie from 6 years later. I haven't watched all the extras, but the parts that I have seen do not mention anything about Nita Skinner. Perhaps she was primarily a stage actress. And like I say, there's a feminist element to this film, the struggle against the patriarchy. These are aspects that are beyond the scope, my own individual scope. When I watch a film, I generally get interested in the characters, but more or less as individuals rather than being representative of larger cultural and social problems. So, but I wanted to read the two essays in the booklet that comes with the Criterion edition. And fortunately, I was able to find them online. If you go to criterion.com, they have a part of that website. It's called The Current, which is like their magazine, and they include, I don't know if they include all the essays and all the booklets that they've had, but they definitely include the two essays that are available in the physical release edition. One's by Molly Haskell, and she was a longtime film critic of the Village Voice, wrote a very seminal work on called From Reverence to Rape, and she also wrote a book on Steven Spielberg. The other essay is by Carol Gilligan, and an academic who really gets into the patriarchy and what Girlfriends represents, and this struggle against patriarchy. Again, this is a subject well beyond the scope of my ability to articulate. But one other thing but they're very good essays, and I really recommend them after you watch the film. There's one other tidbit on the Wikipedia page for Girlfriends includes a segment from an interview with Stanley Kubrick, who saw the film and gives us his highest praise, and says that it's a film that really is much more deserving of attention. So and I agree with Stanley Kubrick, and so I'm glad that the film is getting the attention it deserves by joining the Criterion collection. Okay, that'll wrap up this video. I thank everybody, as always. I appreciate you sticking with me, and take care. I'll catch you next time.